After a very long and cold winter, you might find yourself chomping at the bit to get out and go on vacation. As an artist who likes to paint outside, this brings up a quandary. Should you paint while you're on vacation? Or should you just leave your plein air painting supplies at home and just relax? For some of us, painting is a relaxing thing, so it's really hard to decide. I used to always sketch when I went on trips, but over the last 10 years, on and off, I've been taking my plein air supplies with me to paint. But it's not always immediately intuitive whether or not you should do so on a trip. So I thought I'd share my way of deciding whether or not I should plein air paint on a vacation or not. So here are 5 things that I typically take into account when I'm packing. Number 1, purpose. What is the purpose of your trip? There's vacations, and then there's plein air trips specifically geared towards making art. Usually it's one or the other, but sometimes you can do a bit of both. Is the trip going to be a very special occasion where you're trying to spend a lot of time one-on-one with someone really special? Or is it more of an adventure vacation where you're out and about climbing mountains or scuba diving or going to lots of museums? If that's the case, maybe plein air painting might not be the best option. Or at least not as much painting as you would do on a normal plein air painting trip. Your best bet is to sit down, analyze what you're going to be doing for how many days, if that's what you want to do. Second of all, in my decision tree is time. How much time am I willing to spend a day painting? Sketching in my sketchbook just takes a few seconds, generally longer than a camera, but it doesn't usually take a full, 20 minutes to a full hour that a plein air painting might take. This can be a problem if you're on a tour or if you, have a very rigid schedule or even if you just want to do other things. The third thing you want to consider is researching where you're going and how that's going to affect what you're attempting to do. Are there going to be insects? How cold does it get? How hot does it get? What's the humidity? That can be really important if you're watercoloring like me. Are there any sacred buildings or sensitive sites that the government considers, off limits? Are there cultural taboos about staring at people? That's another thing, even if you're, in a distance. Is your location safe? You might know your own town really well, but you might not know the place you're visiting, and somewhere that seems relatively benign might not be, or vice versa. Your best bet is to talk to some local artists or people in the area and find out ahead of time before you get yourself into a potentially sticky situation. Also, will there be a lot of tourists? Some sites are beautiful, but they're very popular for that reason. And so if you go at certain times of the year or even the day, there might be swarms of people. And other times, you might have the place all to yourself. So it pays to research and look ahead. Number 4, I consider perhaps the most important consideration, which is, are you traveling alone or are you going to be with someone else? If you are going to be with someone else, are they going to be making art as well? Because that's definitely something to take into consideration. It's really important to talk ahead of time with your spouse or your friends or whomever you're traveling with to know what everyone's expectations are. Let them know ahead of time that you would like to block out certain amounts of time to paint, and also just be willing to compromise. Maybe you can paint while they do something else, like take a nap or tour another area on their own. Sometimes they have other hobbies that are compatible with your travels, like photography or reading a book. And finally, there's expectations. What are you hoping to get out of this by the end of your trip? Are you hoping to have made a whole bunch of paintings that you can submit to your gallery or get into a show? Or are you just trying to take notes or practice something you normally don't paint? For example, I do lots of mountains, but I don't do a lot of oceans. And so when I go on an oceanic trip, I try to get in a couple beaches here and there. But I don't beat myself up if I don't come away with an amazing painting. It's a learning experience, and it's kind of fun to try out something new, even if you don't make it perfect. And last of all, don't beat yourself up if you just fall completely flat and you don't even get a painting out of anything that you feel is worth taking home. The heat or the cold or the touring around all day on our tired feet, it's really hard to summon up the energy to make something amazing with your paints. And so don't beat yourself up if you don't come away with something that, is the best painting you've ever done. Give yourself the same amount of grace that you would if you were painting at home. Because when you're in an unfamiliar environment, it's 10 times more difficult than even before. So give yourself a break, a pat on the head, and just enjoy the experience of challenging yourself to do something in a new location under different circumstances.